I'm Jen Lee from The Bump, and we are so excited because we have none other than the Derrick Barnes here with us in the studio. If you know that name, it's because he is a prolific children's book author. I'm talking picture books, I'm talking YA. He's got the whole gamut covered. Some of your favorite books of his have been New York Times bestselling books like The King of Kindergarten, The Queen of Kindergarten. He also has a book that just broke every record and won so many awards called Crown, Ode to the Fresh Cut. And today he's giving us his exclusive insight about his latest picture book, I Got You. And I can already tell you that it is a new favorite in my house. Derrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jen. I appreciate it.
So, we have a new book that has just landed. It is called I Got You. I've got my copy here.
Got you. All right.
We've got our
Yeah.
copies, and this book is so beautiful. It's all about
Thank
the
you.
bond between brothers. And I would just love to start with what inspired you to write this?
Well, I had two sources of inspiration just from my own personal experience of being raised in a single parent household in Kansas City, Missouri. My mother was a nurse and she worked two jobs a lot of times. I was a latchkey kid, and my big brother, who was 7 years older than I am, he was my whole world. He was like the first superstar that I ever actually met. He and I are like polar opposites. I'm real chill and laid back, but he is the cousin that you can't wait to come over. You know what I mean? He is the life of the party when he comes in. I write children's books for a living. I'm jeans and boots. He's nice suits. He's a regional manager for a wine company. So that just lets you know how how wide apart we are. But I loved him so much because he was always so protective, so supportive of my quirkiness, of my creativity, and he's still that way. He's still my hero. The other source of inspiration was just being the father of four amazing boys: Ezra, Solo, Silas, Namdi, and just being a witness, to all their relationships and how their bond grew, over the years. When my eldest son left for college, and he is a college graduate now, and he's actually headed to Howard University next weekend for grad school. But when he left, and if any of you have college age children, you know what it's like when one person from the family leaves. It just throws the whole dynamic of the family off. My second eldest boy, who is one of the best college football safeties in the entire country, he's big, big, tall kid. We dropped Ezra off in North Carolina A&T. It's a very sad day for the family. We drove all the way back to Charlotte. And as soon as we pulled up in the parking lot, in our driveway, Paul just broke out in tears. And he stayed out in the car and cried with my wife for like 20 minutes. And I think if you are a big sibling, if you are a younger sibling, if you grew up in a family full of siblings, you know how special that bond is, and you all have relationships that no one else has. And I think that was the spark for me to write that book, and it made me go back and think about my relationship with my big brother, and then my two younger sons. They have created a bond since my two other sons have left. So just being a boy dad and experiencing it firsthand.
That is incredible. So, tell me, how old are each of your kids? Because we've got some in grad school. What's the spectrum? What's the age range?
It's crazy. So my eldest boy Ezra is 24. He is a graduate of North Carolina A&T, and like I say, he's headed to Howard for graduate school next week. Solo is 20, and he is a senior at the University of Texas at El Paso. Silas, who is the cover boy for Crown and Ode to the Fresh Cut, he is 18, and he is a freshman at Xavier University in New Orleans, Louisiana. So they're all over the country. And my baby boy, Namdi, who is actually the cover boy for The King of Kindergarten, he just turned 14, and he'll be a freshman in high school. Going through that whole experience three times, I know how fast these high school years can go by. I really take it hard, when all of them leave, man, because I come from a small family, but it's just been nice to have a house full of children and noise and road trips. And, I miss it some days.
Yeah, I love that. And as someone who grew up as an only child, I was always kind of envious of those houses that were always filled with so much love, so much activity. Did you know you wanted to have a like that large household feeling?
So I met my wife in college. I thought I was going to go down to Mississippi and find me a thick country girl that knew how to cook, black eyed peas and collard greens. And I met me a girl from Compton, man. So the first time I laid eyes on her, I knew. And she graduated a year before I did, and we broke up once. And I did my best to get her back in my life. I just couldn't see my life. I couldn't see my moving forward with the rest of my life without her in it. So I knew immediately as soon as I met her that we were going to have a large family. So,
Okay.
sometimes you just know.
I love it. Well, congrats. You are doing it. And now it's going to be about the reunions and how to get everyone back to the house now that your boys are flying
Yeah,
the coop.
yeah,
But one of the things that is
yeah.
so special about your writing is that you really center Black children and Black joy in so many of your books. And that's something that's been foundational and really critical for me to bring into my own home. Was that something that you sort of thought of intentionally when you embarked on your writing career? Does it feel like a personal mission? How did you become known for that as your hallmark?
So, and you actually said what I'm about to lean into. I was the first. So my first job right out of college was a copywriter for Hallmark cards. I was hired in 1999 as the first Black man to write greeting cards for Hallmark cards, and it was the first time I felt like I was surrounded by my tribe. For the first time in my life, being around other creative writers, painters, illustrators, even lettering artists. Um, Everyone there was a published poet or they had an art show around the country, and it really started to make me realize that I could get into that game. At the time I wanted to write novellas and short stories, and I met Gordon C. James all the way back then. He had a literary agent. I'm still with her. Regina Brooks, been with her for over 20 years now. And the first contract she came to me with was a 2-book deal. It was from Scholastic, and they had an African American imprint called Just for Us. And I had no plans on writing children's books, but I took it. It was 2 early reader books, Stop, Drop, and Chill, and the Low Down Bad Day Blues. And so I started paying attention to the children's publishing industry, doing my homework, which I recommend every time someone asks me about getting into publishing, is to do your research, figure out who the players are, who are the editors, who are the illustrators, who are the writers. And one thing I noticed that all of the African American books that were up for any kind of award from the American Library Association, they always featured Black boys. Um, they were either stereotypes, they either played basketball, they lived in the projects, or they were slaves, they were runaway slaves. There's no books where Black boys were just people. You know what I mean? Just human beings. And so I said, man, if I ever get into this industry and have an opportunity to stay around, and I've been in it now for 21 years, man, it's a extreme blessing just to still be around. So if I ever get in there, and if you know my work and you see my covers, I said I'm gonna have Black boys that are real, like just like I was, like the Black boys from my neighborhood, like my sons who are 4 different personalities. There's not one definition on what it means to be Black and to be male in this country, but I'm not gonna allow anybody else to define that. You know what I mean? Like as long as I'm continuing to write, I'm gonna always write books about the beauty, the brilliance of Black children. And from a craft standpoint, I try to write stories that are very, universal. So it doesn't matter where you come from, what part of the country you live in, what your socioeconomic status, ethnic group. I want you to be able to see yourself, in all of my stories. But I'm going to always have beautiful, Black protagonists.
That's really powerful. And I think, especially in a time that we need to be looking at all of our children, especially children of color, as three-dimensional, living, breathing, real people, especially for those who aren't
That's right.
exposed to more diverse communities. This is our medium to be able to share who we are, and you do that and you celebrate it so beautifully. So thank you for that, Derrick. So we've got an incredible audience of both new and expecting parents who are, raising their young kids, and just curious to know, what is your sort of outlook on storytelling and the importance of children's picture books for developing younger minds?
It is extremely important to start reading to the baby, in the womb, like reading to the belly, like story times at night. I did that for all four of my boys. They are all not avid readers, but they all are college students and college graduates, and they understand the importance of the written word. I have one son that enjoys reading, and I get that question all the time when I go out and do school visits. How can I get my child to read more? They just need to be functional readers. Every child's not going to enjoy reading for pleasure, but you have to surround the house with books. We have books in every single room. It's always been that way. Um, I don't know when I stopped reading to them, like actually sitting down. I think when they got into middle school, we would still read together and read, chapter books back and forth, or at least talk about, like, they couldn't get on their video games, couldn't go outside until they read at least two chapters or read 20 minutes, and then we have a conversation about what they read. So, reading has always been a huge part of this household, but it's so important in regards to you know, expanding their vocabulary, um, experiencing empathy. We try to read a diverse um, swath of books and about different cultures and ethnicities and different religions. And I think that's the primary thing that reading does, is to teach children about empathy, to empathize with the human experience of people that may not look like you. So um, you know this house has always been kind of wrapped in books. If you go in every single room now, there's stacks of books everywhere, and it's always been that way. So start reading to your babies early, extremely early. Don't think that any book is too advanced for them. You know what I mean? Just read to them in the womb. Read to them when you're uh, 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 feeding them. Read to them when they're in the tub. Read to them when they're about to go to bed. Just surround them with these beautiful words. It's also cadence of voice too. That allows them to be calm and to, um, just have a relaxed household. Hearing your voice kind of stays with them. It stays with them for a long time. And all that begins with reading to them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and really that notion that reading helps to expand their world. And even if the child themselves can't read yet, just asking questions like, "What do you see in this picture?" That's what I love to do with my youngest son. See if he can start to put context together and sort of understand one thing in relation to another thing. It's so critical, especially in a world where it's easy to just put on a streaming show or even give a child a phone, which I'm guilty of doing sometimes, but reading is fundamental. I do wonder though, did you have a
Yeah.
favorite book when you were growing up as a child?
So I read a lot of nonfiction, and so I used to delve into encyclopedias. I wanted to know as much as I could about space, about the animals that live beneath the ocean. I want to know a lot about Black history. Um, but my introduction to poetry and to fine literature started with my love of music. And again, being from Kansas City, Missouri, we had a lot of music festivals. So there was a jazz festival. It was one of the birthplaces of jazz music, with Charlie Parker. So I went to a lot of jazz fests, even as a toddler. And I read the liner notes. I used to study the liner notes inside of albums. That was my first introduction to poetry, reading song lyrics from, Roberta Flack, Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I used to copy down Stevie Wonder lyrics. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever read, especially understanding that he could not see, but he could still describe what it felt like to have your heart broken, or what it feels like to be in love for the first time. Like, that was fascinating to me. So that got me into hip hop music. When I was in the fifth grade, I started writing in the fifth grade, and I started writing everything from poetry to short stories, and delving into all the amazing writers from the Harlem Renaissance. Langston Hughes is from Missouri, so he's worshipped there. So kind of delve into all of his works, all of his short stories, all of his essays, and but it all began with music. And I think you can hear that, when you read my work. I try to write in a very rhythmic, soulful way. And it just comes from just being a big music head.
I love that. And I mean, I wanted to know, where your sort of source of inspiration and sort of confidence and joy comes from. Would you say music is one of those ingredients?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is like a recording studio before I jump on the Zoom. Music is blaring in here, incense burning, put everything out, and say a little short prayer and get on. And hopefully, the right words come out of my mouth. But yeah, music influences a lot of my writing, so much so.
What is that go-to song or that go-to album that is just easy to play, easy to listen to
So,
any day?
so I got like these are my 10. If I was stranded on a deserted island, these are my 10 favorite albums. Man, which one would I choose?
I love that you have this already prepared. It's literally on your
Yeah.
wall, it looks like.
Uh, Anything by Yusef Lateef. He is a flautist. Um, Voodoo, Voodoo by D'Angelo. Sign of the Times is my favorite Prince album of all time. And John Coltrane, which I have a John Coltrane shrine over here. He's my favorite creative of all time.
Music is part of the inspiration. I love that. So, Derrick, when you wrote the book, I Got You, what did you want people to feel when they shared the story with their own families?
When I wrote I Got You, I wanted people to think about the relationships that they have with their sibling, with their close family member that they may consider a sibling. I want to take them back. I want them to realize how close those relationships, how close that bond is, and how things never change. My brother was my hero growing up, and we're both in our 50s now. He's still my hero. So I think about him every time I read this book, and hopefully you will too. You think about your big sister, think about your big cousin, think about the bonds that you all have when you were growing up, and how those memories stick with you, for a lifetime. Hopefully, this book does that.
I think it definitely will. There's no doubt. Derrick, we are so thrilled to share your new book, I Got You, with the Bump audience. What do you think is most important for new parents to know when it comes to raising siblings, bringing maybe that second child home? What do you think that they can get from reading your book, I Got You?
I think on the second or third page, the big brother Anthony um, holds his little brother in his arms. He even helps in the feeding process. I think what has helped to create the bond, with our four sons is we made sure that they were involved in the whole process of raising this baby. That you also have an obligation, that your little brother or your little sister is going to grow up and look up to you and look to you for answers. So it was a very inclusive thing. With each child that came into the house. Um, my boys were really small. On Saturday mornings, my wife would make breakfast. I would come downstairs and I would say, "Finally, the Barnes brothers are together again." They would love that, and they didn't understand that. One day I knew then that it wasn't gonna always be like this. That they were not gonna always be in one place at one time. So I think it's extremely important that we enjoy the now, enjoy those moments that we have with each other. You don't really realize how short of time that is that your children are actually in your house. But while they are there, let's make some great memories. Um, let's make sure that we have the kind of family activities where the children are together and have to make decisions together and enjoy each other's time. Road trips were so fun in this house, man, and I think that was one of the things that helped the children bond as well. So they have these core memories that only they know. And so I really try to tap into those, core memories that siblings have. And, you know, hopefully this book will really tap into those memories and, evoke a lot of good feelings and make you want to read it again and share it far and wide.
Look for my copy of I Got You because my boys had already moved it from the playroom to the bedroom. And so it's one I'm gonna have to keep on a with my in my line of eyesight because it's one that I know is gonna be loved and read on repeat in my house for sure. So final question about I Got You because I'm so excited about this book. Um, Derrick, in your own words, I'd love to hear from you. What is the core theme of I Got You? And why do you think it's so powerful and important for new parents who are raising young kids?
So the core theme of I Got You is just siblinghood. And, you know, I don't think we realize that we have built in best friends, you know, growing up in the home, that we have, you know, shared experiences that we don't have with anyone else outside at home. So I really want to focus in on how special and how, you know, foundational siblinghood is. You know, whether it's a big brother, big sister, a cousin that, you know, we consider a big brother or sister, it's those bonds that we create that, you know, live with us forever. So I really want to focus in on that because of my relationship, you know, with my big brother, how much I love him, look up to him, still do. You know, witnessing that bond that my sons created, you know, within each other, and just really want to focus in on how special and how important siblinghood is.
Thank you so much for sharing that message with the world and with our audience at the Bump. Derrick, what's next for you in the coming year?
So I have a middle grade novel that comes out on September 23rd entitled The Incredibly Human Henson Blaze. I have huge expectations for that book. If you've read the middle grade classic Maniac McGee, which is about a white 13-year-old boy in a small white town that helps to bring people together from both sides of the track. And so I often wonder what would that story be told like if Maniac McGee was a young black boy. So this book is centered in a fictional town called Great Mountain, Mississippi, and Henson Blaze is from a well-to-do black family, and but he is an exceptional athlete, and so the whole town, which is predominantly white, has been waiting on him to play high school football. And when he finally does, there's something that happens to a kid that Henson Blaze really loves, and something violent happened to that child. So Henson decides not to play football. And those same people that have been waiting on him to play football turn on him and really start to despise him. And I really want to focus on America's fascination, you know, with the black body, whether we're talking about slavery, labor, entertainment, and how I wrote this book for black boys who want to be athletes, who want to be entertainers, that you are so much more than just an entertainer, just a basketball player, just a football player. That you have, that people that love you have so much higher expectations for you. And I always tell my sons, you know, we have enough athletes. We need more black engineers. We need more black attorneys. We need more black surgeons. And you can entertain America, but you got to have much more higher expectations for yourself. So that's one of the common themes of that book. I'm just so excited for.
I'm so excited for you, Derrick. Last question. Where can our audience find you?
So you can come to my website. It's derrickdbarnes.com. I am most active on Instagram, author Derrick D. Barnes. So come and check me out. Keep up with my travels. I'm doing a lot of traveling this fall. So I usually post my school, well, not my school visits so much, but my bookstore events, and my tour dates will be posted pretty soon on Instagram. So come through, say hello. I would love to see you all. Thank y'all for having me. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you so much for this interview. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. This was such a pleasure and hopefully not our last conversation. I'm excited to stay in touch and just so inspired by all of the work that you've created that has been so important for my own family. So thank you for me personally.